What is up, YouTube? It's Lions Fan Express coming at you with that man-to-man press. And in today's video, I'm going to give you guys my top 5 defensive line prospects for the 2023 NFL Draft. Watching these guys go against, the big offensive linemen, battling in the trenches, it's a sight to see. And I really enjoy breaking down the film. And I've come up with my 5 guys who I think are the best at their position in this class. So let's get it started. So at number 5, I got Keanu Benton from Wisconsin. He's 6'4", 315 pounds. I watched his games against Ohio State, Michigan State, and I also watched him in the Senior Bowl as well. And I don't really have a comp for him yet. I'm still trying to figure that out. But when I get that, I will let you guys know for sure. So, he's got a great swim move. Definitely got some pass rush upside, as he had 4.5 sacks this season as a part-time defensive lineman. However, he's not really a polished pass rusher yet, and will need to add more moves to his toolbox at the NFL level. He stands his ground against power rush schemes and is able to anchor on the defensive line in goal line situations. He moves well for someone his size, but he does struggle with defending zone runs and keeping gap integrity when he has to move side to side and locate the ball carriers. Not necessarily a gap penetrator, but he does get skinny through the line at times. He split times as A gap and B gap player, so a 1 tech and a 3 tech, but I think he might be best suited as a B gap player. I don't think he's a dynamic player, but he does his job well, and he's got a high enough floor to be taken in the late second or possibly even the early third round. So at number 4, I have Tuli Tuipulotu from USC. He's 6'4", 290 pounds. And my comp for him is DeMarvin Leal. And I watched his games against Utah, Notre Dame, and Washington State. So Tuli, I see potential in him as a prospect, but he does need to play a little bit more consistent, as more of a dominating force and not just a few flash plays here and there. When you watch him play, he plays with his hands in the dirt as a 4-3, but he can also play on the edge as a 3-4. Realistically, though, because of his size and his weight and his attributes, I really project him more as an interior defensive lineman. So playing more as, kind of a B gap player. His run defense is great as he leads with his team with 22 tackles for a loss. Although he needs to get more consistent pressure and win more reps in pass rush, it's hard to overlook a guy who had 13.5 sacks in the season. That was even more than Will Anderson, Tyree Wilson. You look at all like those top edge rushers that were like legit pass rush specialists, he had more sacks than all of them. So obviously he's doing something right if he can get to the quarterback at a pretty high rate like that. But ultimately, I feel like he's definitely more suited inside, but probably can kick outside if you need him to in certain packages. Definitely a sleeper prospect that a team would find good value in the second or third round. And then from my third prospect on this list, I got Bresee from Clemson. He's 6'5", 305 pounds. I watched his games against UNC, Georgia, and honestly, my comp for him is Christian Wilkins. So Bresee, I see flashes of greatness from him when you watch his film. When you watch his highlights, yeah, he definitely flashes, but he doesn't dominate like a top 10 pick should. When I watch him, he's also not a polished pass rusher. He can kind of get pressure on the quarterback. He's got great athleticism to be able to kick outside, but I mostly see him as a 3 tech, so more of a B gap player. What worries me is his production and his passing, his medicals. Since he did tear his ACL his sophomore year, and he had to deal with sickness, I believe, like a stomach or a kidney earlier this year, which kept him out of a couple games. And it's unfortunate, the off-field loss of his sister, definitely played, I think, a heavy toll on his mental state and affected his play on the field. He's still a really good player, but I think he's a bit overhyped, and that's kind of starting to show as, he was projected as a top 10 pick, but that's slowly gone down. And, I personally have him as a mid to late first round pick, where I feel like that's definitely good value to pick someone like him who can, contribute and be a capable starter with potential upside as well. And then at number 2, I have Calijah Kancey from Pittsburgh. He's 6 foot, 280 pounds, so he's definitely on the smaller side for a defensive tackle, but he makes up for it with some other things. I watched his games against West Virginia, Tennessee, and honestly, my comp for him, again, a lot of people are going to say he's like Aaron Donald because, they went to the same school, same size, same playing style, And I don't think he's as dominant as Aaron Donald. I actually think he plays more along the lines of Ed Oliver from the Bills. And, you know, with Kancey, I actually really like Kancey's film. You know, of course, playing at Pitt, you know, and he's being on our side, yeah, he's going to get the comparisons to Donald. But, you know, I don't think he's that level of a player, but I still think he can make an NFL paycheck getting to the quarterbacks and being a run defender as well. You know, because he had like over, I think, 7 sacks for, you know, for specifically a D lineman at the college level is actually pretty good. So, you know, he's a very intriguing prospect, but I think he's, you know, and I think he's a great talent at this position. Probably a late first-round pick, but it wouldn't surprise me, you know, after testing at the combine and, you know, maybe pro days and people starting to get to know this prospect a little bit more and watching more film, you know, if he sneaks up into the mid-first round and potentially, you know, here's my little hot take, could potentially be a top 10 pick. Just throwing that out there. I might be completely wrong, but would not shock me at all. And then for my number one, before I even say, you know, if you guys like the video, make sure you like, comment, and subscribe. And let me know down below who you think the number one prospect is in this draft. Now, as I release this, you know, for me, it's Jalen Carter from Georgia. Now, obviously, you know, right now we're dealing with these off the field issues with Jalen Carter, so we don't know the extent of what that entails or the details, or, you know, if he's gonna, if it's, you know, what he has to do to, like, you know, obviously rectify that. That I'm just gonna put into a separate box and just evaluate him as a prospect with the assumption that he's still going to be available in the draft, but you never know. So with that being said, you know, he's 6'3", 300 pounds. You know, I watched his games against Oregon, Clemson, South Carolina, Tennessee, and LSU. And my player comp for him is Quentin Williams for the Jets. So Jalen Carter, you know, he's a top defensive player in this draft. He has credible athleticism for a guy his size. You know, he's got the respect of the offensive lineman as he draws double teams consistently. Space eater, that's able to stop the run and generate pressure against the pass as well. You know, he didn't have elite production, I think I can kind of project him having a bigger impact in the NFL. It's still a little bit of a concern that you played at such a great defense that you didn't have as many stats as you probably look for in a top, you know, 5 pick. You know, there's been rumblings about character concerns as well as you know, off the field. So how teams evaluate him could definitely depend on that. You know, he's primarily seen as a 3-tech or B-gap player in most schemes. You know, to me, he's a top 5 pick, and he's the best defensive tackle in this class. And again, I just, you know, unfortunately, because of, you know, off the field issues and concerns and decision making that he's made, could really hurt his stock overall. So, but yeah, no, this is my top 5 defensive line prospects. You know, the interior defensive line. So these are guys that can play, you know, inside as, you know, maybe like a nose tackle if you need them to, in a 3-4, or more as a 3 and B gap players in 4-3s. You know, ultimately, you know, these are guys that have had, you know, pretty good production and film at the college level, and I really feel that can make an impact in the NFL. So let me know what you guys think down below of these prospects. Again, you know, it might be a little bit of some, you know, hot takes having some of the guys, especially, you know, with, you know, Tuli from USC, and then Keanu Benton from Wisconsin being as high, you know, as I am. Again, some of these other guys, I just didn't see that what I was looking for in those prospects at enough of a consistent rate to evaluate them as high as I did as some of the other prospects. So yeah, if you guys like this video, you know, make sure you like, comment, share. If you have any questions or concerns, you know, leave it down below. And my next group of players, prospects I'm going to be breaking down is the edge rushing class. And I'm really excited to get to that because, let's be honest, we all love our edge rushers. We all like to see the guys who get the sacks, and there's definitely a lot of them in this class. So with that being said, I hope you guys have a great day. And as always, go Lions.